amazing, sensational, dramatic, heartrending.
It's DA's top story.
Here he goes.
It's your cold open.
Dan Gilbert, in more than 12 years of owning the team, has never extended a general manager past whatever contract he was signed. So this just could be Dan Gilbert's difficult to live with. This could be that Dan Gilbert is difficult to work with. And that Dan Gilbert has a hair trigger finger and always wants to make changes, always wants to do something instead of just staying status quo, instead of just understanding the benefit of keeping talented people in position. Now, do I think that David Griffin was a great GM? No, I don't. Because if he was a great GM, they wouldn't have traded all these draft picks away. They would have some young assets on the roster. They wouldn't have given $82 million to Tristan Thompson or money to Amon Shumpert and J.R. Smith. They'd have a better basketball team, let's face it. They would have more flexibility. But I think that David Griffin has been hamstrung by what LeBron has wanted. And ultimately, I've always said this, if you win a championship, the ends justify the means. And so whatever they did, whatever LeBron wanted, whatever David Griffin did, it's fine. It's fair. It worked. You got your parade. You got the rings. You got the championship. You cannot go back and say this was wrong, this was wrong, this was wrong. You should have never done it. But let's face it, if David Griffin had control over this roster, he was an excellent GM. He might have been excellent at taking LeBron's suggestions. He might have been excellent to be a LeBron executor. But this roster is not great. LeBron's great. Kyrie's great. Kevin Love is good. Outside of that, it is not a great roster. So I don't think that the Cavaliers lose a ton necessarily by letting David Griffin go. I just don't get where the decision-making is coming from. Is this the owner who's already looked like a bozo one, sending out his Comic Sans serif letter and missive after LeBron left the first time? Is this Dan Gilbert just acting the fool again and saying, well, we don't like you. We don't like you. We lost in the finals. We don't like you. Because that would be ridiculous if you didn't run it by LeBron. Or was this run by LeBron? LeBron's like, yeah, you know what? We can move in a different direction. And then LeBron's going to go out there and say, man, I respected you. I wanted you. I wanted you around, which would be a little two-faced. Let's face it. I don't know what to believe because it's Cavaliers land. I'll say this. If they merely push Chauncey Billups into that role, okay, I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea or a mistake, and I'll tell you why. The Cavs have already done this with success. They fired David Blatt. They pushed Tyronn Lue, an assistant, up a level, up a peg, promoted him. They won a championship. They might have just said goodbye to David Griffin and then promoted from within Chauncey Billups, who's in that front office. He gets the job, and they might win again. So I'm not going to sit here and say it's a huge mistake. I just don't know where these big decisions come from because in Cavaliers land, it's always kind of impossible to know.